what we're going to do with you guys is you're going to remind me about your name. We're going to look at your idea. We're going to discuss it because I got lots of ideas to help you and some guidance on how to put together an innovation plan, which is very, very different from a business plan. Business plans are one-dimensional, they're routine. Innovation plans are multi-dimensional, they're unique. And any of you who have not submitted an idea, this is your chance to join a person, to join a team who has submitted an idea. Or if you did submit an idea and you want to join somebody else, do that. That's the way markets work. Okay. All right, so let's remind me again. You are? Are you who? Dorakin.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw it spelled two ways, one with a W, one with a V.
No, it's only with a V.
With a V. Okay, I saw it spelled two different ways, so I'm going to fix that. You want the V.
Yeah.
Like Richard Nixon, the V. Okay, we're going to come back to this. You're joining.
Yeah.
And you are?
Zamula.
Green. Okay. Okay.
You can do a cell phone application for wind energy.
Yes.
Yes, that's too big for us to cover.
Well, no. Okay. Wait. All right.
I work on this.
You don't. I don't expect you, at the end of the semester, to bring me a fully functioning app that somebody uses as
Why
part of a
can't they
wind
make an
energy
app?
project. Well, yeah, you can assume, and then you're going to have to defend the assumption. You can assume that the technical expertise exists in whatever country you're going to do this in to program a cell phone app that, and I will guarantee you that it does exist, but you don't have to do it.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
But again, come on in. But again, this is really a crucial point. If you assume that you're going to build a time machine, right?
No, that's.
Right, okay. I use these radical examples on purpose. Then you're not going to convince me that the expertise exists somewhere for somebody to program a time machine because it violates the laws of physics. But if you say, look, we're going to work on this wind energy project and part of it is going to be a cell phone app that allows people to either, to do something vis-a-vis whatever very tightly defined little solar niche. Then you say, we are assuming that the technical expertise exists to program the cell phone app. I'm going to say, yes, it does, and I can give you 10 examples of companies that are doing that. Okay, so that's the way that works. Okay, we're at the stage where we are validating a concept, right? I'm going to come back to these names here in a second. But since you raised that issue, we're going to jump ahead a little bit here. Take a look at this. We're at the stage of what we call concept validation. Okay? This is where you have an idea. You don't have just an idea. Okay? An idea is, I think Dynamo Kiev is a good football team. That's an idea. But a concept is, I think I can develop a wind or solar energy project in a specific niche, in a specific country, and I can make it sustainable and I can make money doing it. Okay, that's an idea that is part of a dynamic thought process, right? And what usually happens in business failure is people jump from, I have an idea, to give me money and I'll do something. And they forget that, if you spend 90% of your time thinking it through, then you only need 10% of your time to get the money and do it. But if you just jump to the end and say, give me money, first of all, you're not going to get any. And second of all, you're never going to do it because you forgot the most important part. Okay? So this is the most important part. You got to get an idea, but you got to get it within a dynamic thought process. And that's where all this research comes in and all this clever thinking, all right? And I'm going to use, can you read that in order? I'm going to use an extreme example, but it's a real example. Engineers are going to love this. It's an extreme example of the difficulty of concept validation. If you follow the thought process I'm going to hopefully teach you, you'll be able to generate 100 ideas and think through them logically, do some, like I kept saying in the email, some quick and general research. And you'll eliminate 95% of your 95 of the 100, you'll eliminate them, won't waste your time, money, trouble. You'll focus on 5 that kind of make it through the thought process, and then maybe 1 or 2 might prove viable for your company, a new company, an old company. Okay, so think about this. This is completely real and serious. Google, right? We know who Google is. Google, just very recently, made the claim, and I'm sure it's true, okay, they're not big, BSers. Google now claims to have used a quantum computer. We don't need to talk about what a quantum computer is, but they claim to have used a quantum computer to solve a problem in 3 minutes and 28 seconds that would take the world's fastest supercomputer 10,000 years to solve. Now, I have no doubt this is an absolutely factual, scientifically valid claim from Google. And it's not a hoax, it's like real Google scientists making a real announcement. Hey, we're trying to develop, nobody really has them, but we're trying to develop quantum computers, and we have a quantum computer, it's basically in the lab testing kind of stage. And we just use that guy to solve some kind of a problem. I don't know what it is. Some kind of a problem that would have taken the world's largest supercomputer 10,000 years to solve the problem. We did it in, what is that, 106, 12, 18, 208 seconds, right? Well, 208 seconds is a lot faster than 10,000 years. Can we agree? All right? Well, it seems to me that Google's going to make more money than you can possibly calculate, more money than you can possibly estimate. Who doesn't want to be using this computer? Every nuclear power station, every foreign intelligence agency, every huge bank, every finance ministry, every national bank, they want to use it. Why? Because this kind of a computer can make your systems impossible to hack, because they can do random number generation faster than any supercomputer, so they'll have codes that can never be broken, codes that can never be hacked. Google could make trillions of dollars on this project. Well, then why aren't they? Anybody want to guess why not? Because, think about this. What is Google's problem? Why aren't they out right now selling subscriptions for trainloads of money to governments to use this system?
It's still not reliable.
You got very, very, very close to the answer. Did you hear that? Okay? Here's the problem. If it takes 10,000 years for a classical computer to solve the problem, how do you know the quantum answer is correct? They solved a problem in 208 seconds that would have taken 10,000 years to solve. But science demands validation, right? We got to validate the concept. I don't want to buy time on a supercomputer if I think it might make a mistake. So we got to validate it. Well, how do you validate it? Wait 10,000, turn on your supercomputer and wait 10,000 years? So this is a big problem, okay? It's a real problem. It's an extreme problem, but it's real. And it underscores how important and how difficult it is to have concept validation, to literally validate that what you think you're going to do can be done. Not only that it's not a stupid idea, this is not a stupid idea, but what's Google gonna do? Oh, by the way, anybody want to immediately get credit for the class by coming up with an idea for how Google can solve the problem?
I have an idea. You take the same classic supercomputer and you give it a problem that it can solve in a year, and then you give this problem to the quantum computer, and then you compare the answers in a year.
Oh, I love you. Come on, engineers.
So you didn't get it.
Yeah, let's hear it from the engineer. That is exactly what I don't know what they're gonna do, but that's what I would do. Now, 1 year on a supercomputer is like too expensive, but that's the correct answer. How about we come up with a problem that this guy can solve in maybe 2 nanoseconds, right? Billionth of a second. And 2 nanoseconds would be, I don't know, let's just assume it's an hour, okay? I'm just making that up. I'm not gonna shift the decimals in my brain, but maybe 2 nanoseconds here might be an hour, and you can afford an hour on a supercomputer, because I'm sure Google will use their own. That's how you can start moving to the validation. But then some scientist is gonna jump up and say, well, that's really cool, but what about a problem that really does take 2 minutes to solve? Or 10,000 years. But they can at least probably solve the problem by coming up with validation that way, okay? The point is, even the most powerful, rather awe-inspiring example, I mean, this is so cool, 3 minutes versus 10,000 years, wow. Even that, and even with Google, there's this really difficult challenge of validation, okay? So, thank you, that's great, all right? How do you validate the concept? All right, let's come back to names. Okay, so you guys are gonna work on solar, and you, tell me your name again?
Me? Solar, where am I?
Yeah,
I'm not on the list yet.
you're not, oh, that's right, you're not on any list yet. So Natalia will give you a questionnaire to fill out. So you're not on that list either? No, yes, no? Are you on this list?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
It's okay, I'm gonna be soon.
No.
okay, good. Fill out that questionnaire. Think of what you want to do. Better yet, think of what team you might want to join. Hey, you guys
How
are
many
the,
people are in one team?
Two or maximum three.
you can work by yourself, you can work with a second person, a third person. A team of 4 is maximum. In fact, when you think about it, a team of 3 is ideal, okay? 1 is too small because you're gonna have to do everything yourself and I'm demanding. 2, better 3. Get two or 3. Two people, 3 people can do pretty much. So you guys, you guys, are you these guys?
Yeah.
You're 2 of these guys, yeah?
No, basically, my group mates were
You're
absent today.
Mansoor and Hassan, yeah?
Hassan and Cardenas are absent today.
Okay, but which 2 are you?
I am Mansoor.
You're Mansoor and you're?
I'm not in the list right now.
Right, you're not on any list. Are you on that list?
I'm not in the list as
Are
well.
you on the bad boy list? Are you on the I'm unimpressed list?
I'm on 4th number.
Okay,
Yep.
right, well,
Yes.
okay. My recommendation is to get on that list, or that list, or that list. Or face the music. Think about this, you're gonna get copies of these, and you.
I'm not on any list.
Good, she not on any list, okay, that's all right. All right, my recommendation is to either come up with your own, you gotta fill that questionnaire out, because I gotta see your name and see what you think. So come up with your own idea, or get on one of these lists. And in the back row there,
Are you Alexei,
Ah,
he's on this list.
you are down here.
Yeah.
Okay? You're gonna be happy you're here. I got a lot of good things to say about and you're not on any list either.
This list,
Which list?
the third one.
You're on the bad boy list?
Yeah. The sixth name.
Okay. Right here? Cool.
The sixth name.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you are. Okay. Fill out the questionnaire. Think about what you're interested in. And seriously, let's do ourselves a big favor, okay? You're never in life going to work by yourself. You're just not going to work by yourself. If you work by yourself, you're going to fail and be poor. I'm serious. I mean, you got to find 1 or 2 other people and agree that we're going to work together on something. It'll be more fun. It'll be a lot easier, okay? And you just might find that you create some interesting synergy in your different minds and personalities and experiences and knowledge, and you might actually come up with something, some idea that might prove valuable in the future, because you take it back to a company you already work for, or a government you work for, you create your own company, okay? So team up. Don't do anything by yourself. Find at least 1 other person, 2 other people. Make it easy for yourself. Because then 1 person can look at this part, 1 person that part, 1 person this part. I've never done anything by myself. That's why I never fail. I've never failed at anything. And I'm never going to fail at anything. I'm not bragging. That's a fact. And the reason is because I've always found smart, honest, reliable, people that I can team up with.
Can you
Right.
share how to find them?
Some of it's just luck. I had a student when I was at the University of Colorado, as president of what we call the Economics Institute. We got our first group of Ukrainians who came over, a very high-level delegation sent by the State Department. And there were, 29 of them. There were 25 men. They were useless. 4 women. They were brilliant. I'm seriously, I'm not just making that up, because the men were, deputies and stuff like that. And one of these Ukrainian students came and said, hey, Ukraine wants to privatize all the state-owned companies. But how do you sell a state-owned company in a country where you have no prices, you have no market, nobody knows what is the value of anything? Because it's the Soviet Union, it's a state-owned economy. And then I thought, oh my God, there's an entire industry in Ukraine that doesn't exist. Not just Ukraine, all the former Soviet Union. It's called the valuation industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to put a market value on a company, business valuation, or put a market value on an apartment, or a commercial office building, a shopping center. My company works with large enterprises. So, like Ukernafta was my client for about 12 years. They have the state oil company. They have more than 100,000 assets that have to be valued for their accounting, or you put a market value, right? Pipelines and oil wells. Okay. So we created the whole industry and succeeded. Everything was great. But only because we were able to team up 2 or 3 people who had complementary skills, okay? The Ukrainians had local knowledge, they had the engineering skills. You've got to have a lot of knowledge of engineering if you're going to work with trying to, what's the value of a steel mill in an oil company. But then I had the financial and economic knowledge. I knew how the appraisal industry operated in America, so I could bring that over here. We wrote the national standards of appraisal for the Ukrainian government all the way back with Kuchma. So I don't know how you find people, but the key is you have to find people. They could never have done, the Ukrainians could not have succeeded without me, and I could not have succeeded without them. A partner, a team up, right? Many heads are better than one. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll come back here. I got two of these. We're gonna talk about this concept validation, and we're gonna talk about it with the idea of like, how do you like structure an innovation plan? I gave some of that on PowerPoints last time, we'll give more now. But we're gonna talk about that in relation to some of the ideas, because there's a lot of really cool ideas. Let me see here. Well, there's a lot of cool ideas, but I'm not gonna talk about the ones for the people who aren't here. Okay, you guys are here. All right.
Only I am here.
Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
Are you like the designated attendee and the other two are off like, okay. All right. These guys came up, and notice there's three of them, that's a good team. They came up with this idea, now, I call it sustainable greenhouse. What their idea is, well, I got a better idea. Tell us, what's your idea?
Like if we build a greenhouse far from the towns or something like this, and we can create energy with the garbage of the greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like in a Mexico City they are using something like this, and Sweden too. Like they make energy through the garbages, like waste material of the vegetable, fruits and something like this. Like you can say that waste material of the fertilizers.
Mm-hmm.
So they are making energy with the help of the waste particles, and same as they are operating a greenhouse too, but not in a surrounding of the cities or the town, far from the towns and something like this, because after if we create a greenhouse there, there are a lot of opportunities which we can create, like jobs and something like this, because there are some specific like area where people can see there is something to do. Like if we create a greenhouse, there is a what we can say that energy plant or something like this, but not in a large vast system, but it's a small system. So I got an idea after read an article about the Sweden and the Mexico, that we can create a greenhouse in a fertilizer country like Ukraine, because I read somewhere that Ukraine is the second largest exporter of the wheat and vegetable and fruit too. So I thought that greenhouse would be successful idea for me in Ukraine.
I sent you an article, I sent you a link to an American company that's building, all of you guys, I sent an email, and I put in there a link to an American company whose name I'll try to remember, and they're new, they're startup, and they're building, I think it's the largest greenhouse in the world. It's certainly the largest greenhouse in America. It's like I don't know, 150,000 square meters, or I mean it's some ridiculous. Oh no, it's 25. I did the calculations. Okay, it's 25 hectares. So can you imagine a greenhouse? Most greenhouses are small, right?
Small.
This is a 25 hectares. Okay. Bottom line is, that's a superb idea, and if you do it right, it'll work, and the whole world is moving this way. All right, so we're all going to be consultants here. This is a class about thinking. All right, he's got to think of, him and his team, they got to think of about 300 things. Okay, I don't have to actually go do them in one semester. But you better think of as many questions as I can. They got to think about 300 questions they have to ask themselves and answer to validate the concept. Let's throw some out there. All right, let me get you started. Here's one. What is the scale? Right? You're going to have to figure out. I'm not telling you to go figure out the scale to pass the class. No. But you have to ask yourself the question, at what scale is this greenhouse going to operate? If you build a greenhouse that's 1 square meter, you will fail. It's not economically sustainable. If you build a greenhouse that's the size of all of India, you're also going to fail because, damn, that's expensive. So you have to figure out the proper scale. How do they determine the proper scale? It's actually quite simple.
Depends on demand.
Yeah, demand where?
I mean, you.
Demand where? What? No.
There should be some kind of like break-even point, I mean, where you produce at least equal to, you know, like demand from people.
Right, right. Right. You're on to something. Demand. How many people live in Siberia? Not very many. How many people live in Mexico City?
A lot.
About 20 million, just in Mexico City. So maybe the demand depends on the geographic location,
But he was talking about Ukraine, right?
right?
But Ukraine already has a lot of companies which produce greenhouses. I worked for one for some time.
Oh, cool.
And greenhouses, like the ones which you build for factories, and also the small ones which you just have in your yard and for, you know, to grow. It's very popular in Ukraine.
It is.
So companies like that already exist. For their project to succeed, they need to have some unique, they need to show what's going to be so sustainable about it. Because just growing vegetables and fruits in a greenhouse, of course it's a great idea and it's already sustainable by itself, but like it's not really a startup. It already exists for
Right.
many years,
Right.
especially in Ukraine, where we have so many rural, you know, areas, and people live in villages and they grow a lot of their own food.
Right. Perfect. That doesn't mean the idea is not viable, but you've raised a really crucial issue. There's other greenhouses out here in the market. So we have to understand who are they, where are they, what is their capacity. We also might want to ask ourselves the question, I mean, what is their capacity, right? And where are they? Are they servicing a small town, or are they servicing Kiev? So is there still room in the market to grow? And if you said the key phrase, do something different, okay? To compete, there's lots of different ways to compete. You can do something on a bigger scale. You can do something cheaper because you're not taking energy off the very expensive grid.
Exactly.
You develop a
And
system.
that's our key.
Right? So you got your combined heat and power biogas.
Biogas.
Okay? And maybe if you're generating excess electricity, you have another source of revenue, you can sell the electricity. Okay? And maybe you can also, okay, the other question to ask is, grow what? The greenhouse that's being built in America, I think it's certainly the biggest in America. They go find, I sent you the link, take a look, it'll take you 5 minutes. They are putting this is not a American geography class, but they're putting it in the state of Kentucky. And what's cool about the state of Kentucky is their location is equidistant from 75% of the entire US population. Now, that means that if they get the logistics right, they get the supply chain right, the logistics right, they have a market of 75 million people. Well, that's a pretty big market. And especially with the median income in America being about $50,000 a year, you don't have to worry, do people have money to buy fruits and vegetables? And they're doing the same thing. They're actually, I think they're using wind energy, and then they're going to sell the excess, so that's a second form of cash flow, selling the excess energy and then using it, okay? But then there's a question of, well, what do you sell? Okay, because you don't want to grow wheat in a greenhouse. You can't do that. Wheat's a very low value added crop and it has to be processed. So what are these greenhouses growing? Well, they have to grow products that are very high value added. You gotta grow peppers and avocados and tomatoes, things that you go to the store. God, I love avocados, right? And I go to the supermarket in Ukraine and I say, 16 hryvnias for one avocado or something? I mean, you gotta be kidding me.
Sorry,
right?
$2 for one avocado.
Yeah, like $2. Actually, no, it's not even, yeah, it's like 56 hryvnias.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, wow,
It's
$2.
very
They're selling those, somebody's buying those, okay? So the point is, in a greenhouse, you're not gonna make money growing cucumbers or wheat, but you will make money growing very high value added, very high demand fruits and vegetables. And the more specialty fruits and specialty vegetables, the better. So you gotta think about that. And the fact that there's a market, okay, so you gotta do something special, all right? In America, when I go to buy a tomato, I go to the market and there's like 20 different kinds of tomatoes, you know? I mean, Americans are like innovation cuckoo, we're cuckoo about innovation. And there's tomatoes, I'll just make up the numbers, that range from, okay, I'll just use X. They'll have tomatoes that'll be X dollars a pound, all the way up to tomatoes that are 5X a pound. Why would somebody pay 5X for tomatoes when they can buy them for 1X?
Because it's organic.
Thank you, bravo. And maybe, and what does that mean? But they've sold the label, they've sold the brand. Okay, yes, marketing. Now, it may be seriously organic, or it may be kind of BS organic. But that's one way. Because the comment, you got to do something different. So it's organic, and the ones that cost the most money are what they call heirlooms. So they're big and they're kind of wrinkled and they look like a pumpkin and they're actually a tomato, and they're incredibly, you know what an heirloom tomato is, okay, I see you do, right? And you cut them open and they're like really juicy and really tasty, and maybe they're not as tasty as I think they are. Maybe I'm a victim of the marketing that convinces me that this, okay, but that's how you differentiate. So the guys selling the 5X tomatoes, realistically they're probably more like 3X, but still, come on. They're able to somehow convince the market that this is different. It's tastier, it's grown organically, makes your pasta sauce better. Okay, so you got to do that. So what you guys have to do. Oh, and you have to think also, we've touched on it, about an ecosystem, okay? Businesses need multiple cash flows, and you can do that by, like I say, you generate your own power, you consume some, you sell some, all right? That's 2 cash flows. But, you could also set up a factory to produce your own wind turbines, sell them to yourself, and sell them to somebody else. I mean, if you have a big enough energy demand for wind and solar, the technology's there. Pretty much anybody nowadays can produce wind and solar, but you might find a way to produce it at a different scale that fits your local market better, okay? So not the big gigantic guys, but the smaller ones. The fastest growing segment in the solar power industry are individual homes and an individual commercial building, a shopping center, where the scale has to be customized and still be economically competitive. That's where all the action is. Anybody now can go out, like we're doing in Ukraine, like Akhmetov and Chernobyl, go out and you take 1 million hectares and you put okay, that's the equivalent to growing wheat, okay? But if you're trying to solve the problems of people who are off-grid, or like me, at my home in Ukraine, I have unreliable power supply, which is why I got a backup generator. okay? But this is where all the action is, going to individual buildings, commercial, residential, and saying, we can get you a custom designed solar system that fits your need, your shopping center, your commercial office building, your school, because you're off grid, because you might be somewhere in South America or Asia or Africa, or we got a whole bunch of off-grid areas in the United States because it's big. And we have areas that literally do not have electricity because it costs like $1 trillion to bring the electricity. And they're operating now on solar. They're, you know, self-contained. So you gotta think about that. So in your case, you have to start like drawing little ecosystem boxes. And I don't mean the kind of boxes you draw in like a management class, you know, marketing, finance. Don't draw those boxes. I will not be impressed. you gotta draw boxes where you're putting in there things like, okay, we're gonna have to solve the power issue. We've got this issue of logistics, right? Because we have to distribute our product. So we need to think about what? The distance, the mode of transportation, right? Okay, and do we send the truck full, bring it back empty? That's stupid. Let's figure out how to bring the truck back full. Send it full, bring it back full. We have this marketing because we got to convince people there's something different about our tomato, okay? So you got to start putting that together because all those little boxes will give you a complete concept. Okay, and once you have a complete concept, so you've built a chair with 4 legs, right? You have a chair with 4 legs, see? Okay, right now you have a chair, but you don't really have any legs because you have to think now a little deeper, okay? And once you get that, then you start doing concept validation, but you start doing it sort of, you know, box by box. Let's validate the question. We pose it like a hypothesis. We can deliver, let's say we're going to grow tomatoes and avocados, okay? We can deliver tomatoes and avocados to every city within a 100-kilometer radius of our greenhouse, and we can deliver it at a cost that still allows us to meet the wholesale price of tomatoes at a supermarket and make a profit, okay? So, and then you go out and you try to disprove that claim, okay? You tell yourself, I can deliver this at a quantity, at a time, with minimal waste, at a total cost, you know, per tomato, per ton of tomatoes, that is going to allow me to be competitive, point of sale. And then you try to disprove that. And if you can't disprove it, you say, okay, I'm kind of cool right now on this part of the concept. And you move over to the other part, and then you move over to the other part. And that's how this process works. Now, everything we said about, where are we? You're up there somewhere. Oh, okay. Everything we said about this applies to the solar thing,
The wind.
okay? The solar thing is actually the solar thing. I like that, the solar thing. It's actually more complicated. That's why I sent you that, it'll take you 5 minutes to read it. Those pages out of the, well, I sent you, I couldn't copy just a couple pages, I sent you the whole report. Because you have to decide, are we going to be on the large scale, you know, large scale sort of gross distribution? That's kind of like asking yourself, okay, I'm interested in agribusiness. Should I grow wheat or should I grow heirloom tomatoes? Well, yeah, that you can call both of that agribusiness, but that's really radically different, man. Growing wheat versus heirloom tomatoes. I don't know what it is, I just seem to have a tomato fetish today. So you gotta, your first step is you gotta narrow down. When you look at what these brilliant entrepreneurs are doing in Africa, that Price Waterhouse noticed, they narrowed it down. I mean, you got guys that they specialize in small scale off-grid, okay, or they specialize in medium scale on-grid, but the power is unreliable. Okay, so you have to kind of narrow down the scope, okay? The cell phone thing is cool because just about everything nowadays is being controlled by a cell phone app. You use a cell phone app to dial up when do you need more power from the local solar, because, right? Because if you do that right, you gotta have to solve the storage problem, right? And if you solve, you know, this is why you have lithium-ion batteries, those kind of things, salt towers. And if you solve the solar problem, then someone with a cell phone app can say, okay, I wasn't using any electricity because I wasn't here, now it's nighttime, but I can dial up the app and I can literally order 3 hours of electricity. I can literally order 3 hours of this quantity of electricity or 3 hours of a smaller quantity. Okay, the industry's moving that way. Okay, so all you need to do on the cell phone app is figure out a sustainable way, you know, a profitable, sustainable way. You plug the cell phone app into the business concept. That's cool. Oh, we have, let me see. We're taping, we have three online students, all of whom, by the way, I hope you're going to watch the video, because all of them had excellent ideas. We'll turn to them in a minute so they have a reason to watch the video. Let me see. We talked, all right, big chance, man. Got any ideas? You told me you hadn't done anything yet. Does anything interest you?
Sports.
Good. No, I'm on the board of, I told you, I think I told you, I'm on the board of a high-tech startup. Okay, we're 5 years old. Okay, we went from 0 sales, we got 5 million a year in sales now. We're cool, we're successful. I'm on the board. It's not like I don't own it, I'm on the board. Okay, but I've kind of been there from the beginning. And we got a whole bunch of clients in sports. In America, there are more than 200 master's degree programs in sports management. Sports is a huge industry. I mean, huge. What about, come in, what about sports are you interested in?
Particularly basketball.
Okay, how are you gonna make money? What are you gonna do, start a team or do training?
Creating a club,
Okay,
and then try to recruit some young kids, and then we will send them abroad
okay.
to make a career.
Now, would you do this within an NGO, kind of not-for-profit social program, maybe supported by the government? Or would you do it try to do it in a for-profit way? Private, public? Got to think about that. What country are you from? Tell me your-
Republic of Congo.
Congo, okay. Every government understands now that investing money, even limited money, into any kind of youth sports is a really, really great long-term investment, right? Okay, it makes people better citizens, you have less drug addicts, okay? I mean, we're kind of rediscovering this in America because we kind of got away from youth sports because we had too much professional. So you might think of a concept of and by the way, for those of you who were here 2 weeks ago, I kept making a point that if something is profitable, you don't just measure profit in money. You call something profitable when the benefits outweigh the costs. So if I'm a sports minister in the Congo and you come to me and you convince me that I can make some small investment, that's a cost, but you can deliver benefits for society. They might be related to behavior or to health, right? And those benefits are going to be greater long term than the cost that I'm going to spend. You might convince me to support you and give you some government money. Okay, now, you wouldn't do that through a for-profit, you'd probably set up a charitable foundation, you'd set up an NGO, okay, with some cool name, you know, like, you know, sports is life, and, right? And then you go to the minister and say, look, I'm not gonna take the kids of judges and politicians, because they've already got all that stolen money. I'm gonna go into the poorest areas of our big cities, and I'm gonna recruit the most at-risk youth, okay? And for every at-risk youth I get who can somehow develop themselves through sports, then this is gonna be a person less prone to crime, less prone to drug addiction, less prone, okay? Okay, so you can pursue your idea of sports and creating a soccer team with, sorry, I'm an American, we call it soccer. A soccer team, basketball, you can pursue it in a way that is profitable, benefits outweigh costs, but doesn't have to be financially profitable for a business. So think about that, okay? And then again, think about drawing a picture that says, okay, I have to solve this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, okay? And I'm gonna do this in a very crude way so I don't waste time looking for the slide. Here's how you do this. You draw a circle, and this is the positive outcome. We'll abbreviate, positive outcome. That's what you want to accomplish. This is how thought process works, right? In your case, the positive outcome is you want to have like a functioning, not just a team, you want to have like an entire functioning league, okay? And the positive outcome might be, let's reach the most at-risk kids. I have personal experience with this, which I'll tell you in a minute. And, okay, so how do we get the positive outcome? Well, we're gonna have to prove the validity of that, and prove the validity of that, and prove the validity of that, and prove the validity of that. Back to the greenhouse thing, this is, you know, your logistics and your scale and your geographic location, all that kind of stuff. But in your case, you know, you're gonna have to sort of figure out what is it that you're gonna have to solve, what part of this, see, it's 4 legs on a table, but there could be 10 of those boxes. You gotta figure out what are the little sub pieces that I have to validate so that my big idea, right, can work, because that's the positive outcome, right? But I have to first, so if you decide I'm gonna go for at-risk kids, okay, well first you gotta validate the idea that you can convince the government to invest money in at-risk kids. Okay, for example, right? So, it's a good thing I didn't go into art. I have a really cool PowerPoint that I'll show you at some point, and it doesn't look like that. Looks better than that. That looks pretty. But are you getting the idea about validating the concept? Okay, all right. If you take this thought process in this class, new students are going to go. We're going to do this over 3 semesters. And that'll give us enough time for me and my friends in business and industry and finance to work to where at the end of 3 semesters, you literally have a plan that you could actually go and implement and get funded, okay? Since we're just starting the Keystone, we're gonna try to squeeze everything for you 3rd semester guys into 1 semester. But that's good, you have to take things more seriously. If you go through this mental exercise really seriously, and you actually start to do some of the pieces, you just might find that you have something that'll advance your career, something that'll make you money, okay? That's the whole idea, okay? That's the whole idea. I had this idea of a positive outcome to create an appraisal industry in Ukraine. And I wanted to do it in a for-profit business model so I could make money, because I was a teacher and I wasn't earning anything. I left academia and I went into business. Okay? And I had to go through this thought process. First of all, I had to validate the idea that we could create a legal foundation for Ukraine to have an appraisal industry. So, and we did, went through thought, and we realized, okay, what do we have to do to create a legal foundation? First, we had to write a law, because, you know, Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union, Russia still is, and we had to literally get the RADA to pass a law making the job title appraiser legal. Because in Ukraine, you can't do anything without government permission. Okay? In a Western country, you can do anything you want unless the government says no. Right? So, you know, so I can't murder somebody, but I can be an appraiser if I want. I can be, I don't need to go to the government and say, would you please give me the legal right to be an appraiser? Well, in Ukraine, you know, you have to get the legal right to be an appraiser. So we had to write that kind of law. And then we had issues of a qualification. We had to be taken seriously on the world market. So we had to figure out, okay, what are international standards of the proper kind of education and testing requirements that let you prove with a certification process that you're as good an appraiser as somebody in America, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And once we worked it all out in our brains, then we went, you know, step by step by. Now, we didn't do it sequentially, we were moving on all fronts, because we also understood how these different boxes here are connecting to each other. And we understood that we had to move on the issue of certification of appraisers at the same time we were getting appraisers made a legal occupation, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is concept validation.
Did you appraise on the base of what? I mean, how did you create the price? Did you compare to Western countries or European, some standards? I mean, how did you evaluate something? You had to compare with something, right?
Yeah, that's a huge technical question, because you're asking, and it's a good question, but we should talk about it later. Because I know you're asking, well, you know, how do you value an asset in Ukraine? You know, right? How do you value it and have it meet the international standard? It's a very, very, very complicated subject. Okay, are we catching on to the idea of what you need to do for your next step? Okay, for those of you who have an idea, your next step is just to refine it, make it smaller, right? Get it down to a bite-sized chunk. So it's kind of like, I want to bring peace to the entire world. I really do. Well, that's not going to happen, but I can at least bring peace to my own house, right? I can live in a peaceful house, if not necessarily a peaceful world. So you gotta figure out how to refine it down into the most value-added little nugget, little core idea, okay? And you gotta start thinking about this whole idea of concept validation. What do I have to do to prove to myself that it's gonna work? Because once you prove to yourself that it can work, now you believe in it. And now when you go to talk to somebody and they start telling you 75 reasons why you're going to fail, you don't pay any attention to them. Unless they thought up a reason you didn't already think about. But if you've already thought about all 75 ways to fail, then when you go to talk to investors or potential partners and they start, well, what about this? And well, what about that? And you say, boom, 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 because I already thought about it. Because I have a fully formed concept. I don't have just an idea. I mean, I got a validated concept in my brain here. So go ahead, throw out 75 negatives and I'll answer them just like that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? Now, if you do that, and by the way, if you do that and you happen to also have like some really serious, fully developed plans, engineering plans, logistical plans, financial plans, okay? Not plans for the sake of plans, but I mean plans that address all the obvious things you have to do to make the project or the business succeed. You're going to suddenly find someone who's going to be interested in investing in you, or you're going to find the CEO of your company who's interested in giving you a promotion and giving you the staff and the money to go do the project, which you have thought through thoroughly that'll make the company more profitable, okay? So this is powerful stuff. Where are we? Did you do something yet, yes or no?
No.
No. Bad boy. Okay. This is a fun class, and fun classes mean you have to tolerate my teasing. So you have to think about what it is I want to do or what team I want to join. And the way you join a team is you got to go to somebody who's got an idea that you think is pretty cool, and you have to convince them that you have a skill that you can bring to the team to make the team better. So you go and say, wow, you have a cool idea, I want to work with you on the idea, and I can do the marketing part. I can think through the engineering part, I can think through the logistical part. Think of something.
Okay. I will.
And? What's your name? Are you on one of these lists? Okay, fill out that questionnaire, think about what interests you. You guys are going to get those slides so you can see what other people have proposed. There's no problem with saying, gee, you know, I really like such and such idea. For example, if I had walked into this class as a student for the very first time, seriously, okay? So if I had walked in here as a student for the very first time and started getting teased because I hadn't filled out the questionnaire yet and hadn't come up with a brilliant idea yet, but I was given the option to join a team, I would join either. Me. Trust
You
me.
can join our team.
Yeah, trust me, it would be a really good idea to take me. I would go over. You would do really well in this class with me on your team. No, I would go over and ask to join the team. Why? Because I have a big interest in renewable energy, and I have a background in renewable energy. I mean, I've done I did a bunch of renewable energy projects in Ukraine. I forgot about that. Yeah, well. Or I would go, and actually I did do a bunch of renewable projects here in Ukraine a long time ago. I forgot, I actually won an award, let me see, and give my age away. It was in 2000, and I won International Energy Project of the Year Award from the very prestigious American Institute of Energy Engineers for a project I did at the Gostomo Glass Factory, one of the best managed companies in Ukraine. And Gostomo was a glass factory. And it was Ukraine's very first ever large-scale, privately funded, sustainable, profitable energy efficiency project. And I was part of a team. I was financial, and there were engineers, so we all won together. But I would go to ask to join the WIN team, or I would go to ask, because I also have a huge interest in agribusiness, and I would go to ask to join the agribusiness team. So there's no problem with going and saying, I want to join your team, but then you have to answer the question, what are you bringing to the table, right? What are you bringing to the team? So do that. Okay, we got two guys left. Oh, yeah, thank you. Let's have a break. Okay. I don't know where those other people are. I want to very quickly point out a couple things. A number of people mentioned cell phone apps, and I very generously wrote partially defined, which is diplomatic speak for, I don't understand what you're suggesting. So anybody, I don't know, we have so few people, anyone who's looking at a cell phone app, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta define that down to the exact exact specifics. So ask me what this, we have a cell phone app that's in the IT startup company I'm involved in America, cell phone app. Ask me what it does.
What it does.
Thank you. It provides training in sales and customer support for frontline staff, okay, in any business requiring the frontline staff to deal with customers.
That's really cool.
Okay.
That's what it is. And how does it work? We take big training men, how does it work? Concept validation, how does it work? We take big training manuals, right? So think of a hotel. We have hotels. We have Emirates Airline as a client. We got FIFA that's a client. We have banks. We got automobile dealerships, Hyundai in South Africa. So we got all kinds of clients. We have a lot of sports teams. They have a big football stadium. Guy calls on the phone. He says, "I want to buy a ticket." Okay, the salesperson has to know 100 pieces of information right there at her or his fingertips so they lose the sale. What kind of, is this a personal seat, corporate seat? Oh, it's a corporate seat. We have this kind of a box, we got that kind of a box, we have this package, and this package has this and this and this in it. We got this package that has this and this, valet parking, all the foods you can eat, free liquor. You can buy a package of 10 seats. How much does that cost? This one. We buy a package of 20 games. How much does that cost? This one. Boom, 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 boom. Neurologically, the best way to train sales staff how to deliver that kind of information is through short burst training that's a max of 3 minutes. And you do it 4 or 5 times a day. So you're doing it on a coffee break. You're doing it on the bus. And because it's one-dimensional, which is not downplaying the importance, okay, you don't use a cell phone app to train someone to be a physics professor, right? But you do use a cell phone app to train a millennial, a 25-year-old, to be a sales rep, to know one-dimensional, meaning 1,000 facts and figures like that. And so they can engage the person, they don't lose the person, they can answer every question, answer it quickly, answer it in a nice way, then they make a sale, okay? So that's what our cell phone app does. So when you say, well, I'm gonna develop a cell phone app, you have to get right down there and say, exactly what does it do? Exactly what's the benefit? Nobody asked me what's the benefit. Hey, what's the benefit? I'll tell you what the benefit is. We have the data to prove it. Companies turn over, a typical American company that has a lot of sales and support, customer service, right? You walk up to the hotel to check in, right? That's customer service. Right? Companies that employ a lot of people in sales and service, they turn them over, the turnover rate's very high, I mean, you're turning over half your labor force every 18 months. That's very expensive, very wasteful. It costs time and money and trouble to hire, to train a person. They don't do a very good job, they leave, okay? And so we have data that proves that our training method makes employees more productive in their sales, so they earn more money. Sales is always commission, salary and commission. We have the data to prove that one of our clients uses our product, their sales force, they do a better job, they make more money, the company makes more money, the employee stays longer, all those turnover costs, hiring, training, firing, hiring, training, that goes down. So that's the benefit, and you gotta have that. So cell phone apps are cool, but only if you can get it down to literally, this is what it does, this is why it makes money, okay? Right? That's the validation, that's the validation. So there's simply no question you could ask me about our One Huddle company. You can find us online. There's no question you could ask me about the One Huddle company, except some really esoteric question that only the CTO could answer, Chief Technology Officer. But you can't ask me questions. You can't come up with anything negative that I'm not going to be able to respond to, because we're a 5-year-old company. We're way past the product validation stage. We now have $5 million a year of sales stage. Okay, and it started with an idea. It started with one guy who had an idea 5 years ago, and went through the whole process that I'm trying to get you guys to focus on, and the end result is he's now got a company valued at about $50 million. We're in our second round of, we're in our Series B round of funding. So we'll probably sell 20% of the company for maybe 10 or $15 million. So this is not like just something you do in school and it's kind of stupid. Okay, this is like, I'm doing this and I might make money. All right, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to talk about because the people aren't here. Okay, I want to go to this.
So is this gonna be on Moodle?
This will be.
Okay.
This will be. Apparently, the video is only for the online students. By the way, the online students had some really cool ideas. I'm going to go back and point out a couple of these. First of all, it's too bad that we're not interactive. One of the online students said, you just investing in startup businesses, it's really high risk. There's too many problems. And again, I'm not talking just startups. I mean, if you work for a government or a company, you can think of an idea that would benefit your ministry or your company. But his point, which is valid, is, well, it's safer and you make more money just by investing in a diversified stock portfolio. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I agree with that. However, I don't agree in general that you can't make money creating a new business. There is no industry in the world where it's not possible to enter and make more money. I mean, people tried to tell Amazon, you can't enter the retail business, it's too full. It's got all Sears and Macy's and, well, there you have it, right? Uber, what, you're going into the taxi business? You know how many taxis there are? Well, okay, well, they entered anyway, okay? One of the cool ideas was this person who said, I'm gonna establish a restaurant for Ukrainian Moldovan food in Destin, Florida. Do you know why I like that idea? Because think of how it's already been narrowed down. We have a geographical location. So there's the market they need to study, and since they probably lived there, so, right? That's the market. So they got the location, they got the market, they got the product, and the product is something that doesn't exist. Americans love food. I mean, Americans spend more money eating at restaurants than probably the entire world combined, right? So there's just unlimited ability to open restaurants in America. You can make a lot of money in the restaurant business if you get all the logistics right, okay? You gotta get all those operational logistics right. But if you work out all those details, okay? So you have recipes that are followed so that every single bowl of soup is identical to the other bowl and it costs the same because it's using the same ratio of ingredients, okay, right? And you issues of ambiance and training your your service staff, okay? So there's a lot of hard work there. But notice they've already gone down several layers deep into the idea. So they know exactly what they want to do. So now the process of validating the idea is like easier for them. This is what a lot of your projects, ideas you've thrown, this is what you got to do. You got to get down 2, 3, 4 layers so that it's really more focused, more defined, exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. Okay, this is one of the big. This is like for this semester. This is the big takeaway for this class. The big takeaway is come here on I think the last day of class is the 17th of December, and come here prepared to stand up here all by yourself in front of everybody, including me and a few other professors and business people, some of whom have money to invest, and convince us that you have a validated concept and you've fleshed out enough of the details so we can say, yep, that's a chair with 4 legs. We're not going to say, oh my God, where's your 500-page financial plan. No, we're not gonna say that, because you can't do that in a semester. But surely in a semester, you can build a chair with 4 legs, right? Okay. So, all right, let's jump ahead for the benefit of those of you who are here. Here's what you gotta ask yourself. We're gonna look at, there's just a few of these, we'll call it a night.
Sir, I have a question. Is this gonna be our final, like, to present an idea?
Yep.
Or we're not gonna have any exam, just to present?
Well, I'm not sure what else Natalia or Leboff might dream up, but.
They have their way.
But my plan is to listen to you guys speak as coherently as I do. I just told you, think what I just told you about my company. It's not my company, it's my company. I'm on the board. Okay, I'm on the board. I get a vote. I can team up. There's only 3 of us. I can team up with one guy and fire the CEO. So it's my company, but I wouldn't do that because he's brilliant. He's the one who created the company. And then there would be no company, no board. I just told you everything you need to know about my One Huddle company. I told you what it is, I told you how it works, I told you the benefits, I told you how we prove to people, to clients it works, right? Boom, 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 boom. And that's what I expect you guys to do, because damn, this is an MBA program. I mean, you guys are supposed to be like working somewhere or getting a job somewhere, and, so you gotta be like clever and creative and persuasive, or don't come and ask me to invest or hire you. So, I mean, that's the way life is. All right, listen, notice we're not saying business plan, we're saying innovation plan, okay? A steel mill produces a business plan, right? We're gonna buy this much iron ore, and we're gonna buy this much chromium, and we're gonna buy it at this price, and we're gonna produce this many tons of steel, and we're gonna sell it at that price, right? That's a business plan. And we're gonna have this line of credit and this capital fund to buy new equipment and machinery. That's a business plan. Really important thing. But if you're going to create a new product, a new service, within an existing company, create a new company, a program that we were talking about for sports for at-risk youth and stuff, you have to create first, before you get to the business plan, you have to create the innovation plan. This is how you validate the concept. This is how you convince people that you have some idea what the hell it is you're doing. So you have to ask yourself these kinds of questions. Notice they're all questions. You got to ask yourself questions. What is the innovation space? All right, it's wind energy. You mean, but that's kind of big. Well, it's small scale wind energy for residential homes that are off-grid. Boom, 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 boom. That's focus, okay? Now I know the innovation space, not just wind energy, but it's custom designed, small scale residential off-grid, okay? And then you have to ask yourself, I always laugh because I've seen so many failed plans from brilliant engineers. I love to tease engineers. Hey man, I got this really cool product. And it's really cool technology because if I push this button, then this thing happens. Great. Nobody cares, so nobody will buy it, so nobody will invest. You're in love with your product, nobody else loves your product because you forgot to ask the question, does this innovation provide a solution to a problem? Does it meet an unfulfilled need? Right? If you're interested in making huge amounts of money, you got to identify all these non-consumers, people who want to consume a product or a service, but they're not, and you have to figure out why they're not. It's not because they're poor. One of the most successful cell phone companies in the world is called Celtel. It was set up by a brilliant Nigerian guy. It's all over Africa. and everybody in the 90s told him he was insane because there's no money, nobody can buy a cell phone, da da da. And he didn't pay any attention. He's the guy who invented, by the way, he's the guy, this brilliant Nigerian guy who invented, go Google Celtel and check out the company. He's the guy who invented the original scratch card where you buy phone by the minutes, right? So you get a cheap cell phone, you don't need a fancy smartphone, a phone that lets you call a relative that's 100 miles away, which is better than taking a bus, and it's cheap, and all it does is make phone calls and send text messages, and there's a little app there where you input the code, and you buy the card, you scratch it, you put the code in there, and now you bought 50 minutes, okay? All right, he invented that. Okay. So he met an unfulfilled need. There's nobody in the world that doesn't want to call their mother on the telephone. Seriously, right? Okay. And so you have to ask, okay, am I fulfilling an unfulfilled need? Am I solving a problem? You have to ask yourself, who benefits? So who benefits from any of your ideas? Who benefits? Okay, in your case, well, consumers benefit.
End users.
Consumers benefit.
Yeah.
But then you have to say a very specific kind of consumer, okay? And then you have to ask, well, what are the benefits? Well, they're going to get, the produce is going to be fresher. It's going to be, right? Because it's not going to come like in the case of the big greenhouse in Kentucky. Now people say in Washington, D.C., instead of getting a tomato that's a week old from Mexico that was picked green, they're going to get a tomato from Kentucky that was picked ripe. It's going to taste better. It's going to be healthier. It's going to be grown organically, right? And because Washington, D.C., the average incomes are very, very high, it's going to appeal to people's sense of, environmentalism, circular economy, because you're going to advertise yourself as the greenhouse that recycle, uses waste to create biogas, that runs the plant, and that's where we get our fertilizer, and that's why it's organic, and so on and so on. So you have to, who are the benefits? And then, how does someone benefit? Okay. Solar, how does someone benefit? Well, if you define this down to, residential, off-grid, small scale, then who's benefiting is someone in a house that literally doesn't have electricity, or they have electricity, but it's really unreliable. Today we have it, tomorrow we don't, okay? So this is, you have to ask yourselves, because I'm going to ask you these questions as we keep going forward. Who benefits? What are the benefits? How does I just told you this about the One Huddle company. Who benefits? Companies who employ sales and customer service. What are the benefits? Less employees stay longer. You don't turn them over as quickly. They sell your product, tickets to a football game. They sell more of them. And who benefits? Okay, how does someone? Well, the company saves money on turnover. The company earns money selling more tickets. The salespeople earn money because they sell more tickets, right? So who, what, how? That's what you got to have. Okay. Remember this. This is really profound. I wish I had said that. Actually, I said the bottom. The bottom is me. The top, there's several people who can lay claim to inventing that expression. It's not me. This is not plagiarism. I can give you the title of a couple of books. And one guy wrote, but he said, I got the idea from another guy. Okay, so, but this is powerful and brilliant. I can give you a couple of books. Think about this. People, okay, do you know what a drill is, right? Right, drill a hole in a board, a wall. People do not want to buy a drill. Nobody wants to buy a drill. People want a 1 centimeter hole.
Because hole is their needs.
Precisely. Yeah, they need a 1 centimeter hole. And if you can convince them that you can solve their problem, what is their problem? They don't have a 1 centimeter hole. What is their unfulfilled need? They want a 1 centimeter hole. They don't have it. So how are you going to solve it? Well, a drill. Well, you know, there's a lot of different drills out there, right? They're operating on a lot of different, some are portable, some you have to plug into a wall, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you can figure out how to solve their problem is they don't have a 1 centimeter hole. They want to buy that, they don't want to buy that. So you go to them and say, I have a superior solution to your problem. Then they're going to buy your solution. And it may not be a traditional drill, it may be something else. I don't know, little handheld thing makes a laser. Seriously, why not? Why not a handheld laser? I don't see it's technically feasible. It's probably, gosh, that's kind of a good idea. We ought to think about that. A little handheld, I mean, the only problem is people end up killing their cats and stuff. Put a laser hole in your foot. Okay, but the point is, there's an unlimited number of ways to solve the problem of somebody who wants to buy this. They don't want to buy this. Okay, so when you think about any kind of business, any innovation, that's what you got to think. You have to think, okay, what is the unfulfilled need, right? What is the problem? And then figure out how you solve the problem, how you meet the need, right? So I mean, I wrote this because that's what that says. People don't want products, they want solutions, okay? People do not want electric energy from solar. They don't. They want electric energy. No, they don't want electric energy. They want the ability to keep their food fresh in the refrigerator. They want the ability to keep themselves cool in the summer. They want the ability to give their child a light at night to study his homework. That's what they want, right? And so you come to them and say, I've got a solution, and it's superior to a big farm pumping electricity into a system that you can't access because it's all unreliable because our Obliner goes suck in our, okay? So that's powerful stuff. Okay, I think this is the last one. Almost. All right, you're going to get these, but I'm just trying to tell you what it is. So don't focus on the function, right? This is why so many startups fail, especially those. I love teasing engineers. I love teasing engineers. Yeah, well, you can tease engineers because what would this world be like without engineers? Whoa, it would be a kind of a terrible place to live. So we love them, we need them, and therefore we can tease them. We can tease economists and lawyers too. Okay, but just because your product, your service does all kinds of cool things, doesn't mean it should do all kinds of cool things. So you don't ever want to focus on the function. This gets lost. I don't know if this ever gets taught in any of your courses, okay? I don't know if it does get taught.
Yes.
Good.
Emotional experience.
Good. Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that. You gotta focus on this emotional experience. You have to, why do people buy your product? How do they feel about that? When they use your service, when they use your product, does it make them feel good? And does it make them feel empowered? Does it, you got to focus on that emotional experience. Why? You have to ask yourself the question, why does someone want to buy this service? Why do they want to buy my product? Do you know why people want to buy Uber, Lyft, Uklon, Bolt? I know why. Because they're a young woman, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, it's dark, and they want to go home. And they want to go home safely. And so they pull out the app, and they say, okay, this guy's had six...
Doesn't necessarily...
Not well, there's no... Okay. They want to be relatively more safe than hitchhiking.
Definitely.
They want to be relatively more safe than just waving a yellow cab, and for all you know, the guy's a psycho. So this is part of the emotional experience of why people use this on-demand companies, because there's no such thing as perfect security in life, but they think, okay, this person, I see he's got 6,000 rides, he's got a 4.9 rating, I see
Right.
his name, I see the car, I see the license plate. I don't have to take out money for fear I'm gonna get robbed on the street. I don't have any money. It's gonna be charged to my
Your
credit
card,
card, my
yeah.
debit card. Okay, same card I used in the restaurant. And the cabbie doesn't have to worry that I'm a psychopath. Just because I'm a 25-year-old woman doesn't mean I'm incapable of shooting him and stealing his money.
But there's
Okay.
still accidents like that.
Of course there are, of course there are. But the point is, the reason those services are so popular is they are convenient and people perceive them as being safer. Okay? All right? And they're more convenient, they're perceived as being safe. There are problems, okay? There are problems.
They're more controllable. You want to control how you ride home. You want to know exactly which road you're taking.
Mhm.
It's more about, you want to exactly know how much money you're gonna pay to like last
Mhm.
cent. You want to know how you're gonna pay, you know.
Yes, yes.
Some's gonna say, well, I don't have the change,
Yeah, but
and then
whatever.
they can charge it to your account. and
Taxi
that
drives
money
in circles,
gets-
running
or
up.
yeah, if it drives, it's about
Right.
like controlling.
How does that make you feel as a person that you can have that kind of
You're in
agency?
charge, that you
Precise.
can control how much you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's an emotional experience.
precisely. So, you're smart. I love you. Okay? That's exactly it, man. That's exactly it. Everything you described, when any person, a man, a woman, young, old, doesn't matter, when any person feels like they're more in control, they have more human agency, they just like that. Okay? They feel safer, they feel better, all right? And that's what a lot of this on-demand transportation is all about. And you have to think about this too. Okay, you have to think about this too, because you know the world is social effects, not just because we want to be good citizens in the world, but if we ignore social effects nowadays, we ignore it at our own peril. Why are Adidas and Nike, okay, I mean they're not exactly the best corporate citizens, right? But why are Adidas and Nike suddenly developing shoes that are shoes, right, that are 100% biodegradable? Because it's the socially responsible thing to do. People demand that. They can market that social responsibility and they can make more money. Why are they developing shoes that are 100% recyclable? Right? Same reason. So this social effects is becoming really, really, really important. This is why the organic thing takes off now. You know, there's issues with organic because, you know, is it really organic and what does that really mean? Okay, there's a lot of those issues we're still as society sorting out, but it's indisputable that pretty much everywhere in the world, people want to know, especially younger people, that the food I'm eating food and I'm not necessarily destroying the planet, okay? Okay, so, you know, socially responsible things are very important. And by the way, social effects come back, it's too bad you're not in the freshman class because one of the seminars I do for the freshman class is to talk about this, you know, the new capitalism that's being developed for our new economy. And corporations now are paying attention to the costs and revenues of the social side, okay? The effects on people and communities from their business. They're paying more attention to the effects on natural resources, okay? And they're not doing it because they're like saints. Some of them are, but they're doing it because society is demanding that. Okay, stop making money while you're destroying our communities with air and water pollution. lead poisoning of kids and quit doing business in a way that is creating unemployment, not generating employment, okay? Okay, so there's lots of demands that the changing psychology of people, especially people in their 20s and up, or teenagers and up, that are putting these demands on businesses to operate differently. Okay? And again, I just purposefully emphasize this. Again, I'm repeating myself, I'm doing it on purpose, because that's the ultimate concept validation of your idea, your product, your service, your whatever. Right? Why is somebody going to buy it? What problem is it going to solve? I think that's the last part. So think about that. It's going to be, you guys are going to be okay, I hope, because I think you'll incorporate this. The people who aren't here today are going to have that's the last one. They're going to have a hard time figuring out how to incorporate that, because I look at that. I mean, hopefully my PowerPoints are self-evident. We never got a chance to ask you. Are you on the bad boy list, the good boy list? What list are you on?
But there is one bad boy.
Bad boy. I know. I call that the good boy list, the bad boy. Did you fill out a questionnaire? Submit a.
I will.
The questionnaire you said we should fill, is it on the Moodle?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really simple. You know, it basically says, hey, what are you interested in? What are your strengths? You got any ideas? And it's perfectly acceptable for anybody to say, well, yeah, I put an idea out there, but I kind of like this person's idea, this team's idea. I'm going to go ask to join the team. But you know, when you go to ask to join the team, then you have to be prepared to say, this is what I bring. Or do stuff by yourself, just a little harder. Okay, questions, comments? This is fun. What we're looking for by the end of the semester, we're looking for a chair with 4 legs. Something you might turn into a whole bunch of money someday. Cool. All right. I gotta go because